Y'all better guess what day it is. It's Wednesday, baby. And you know what that means. It's time for another episode of your favorite podcast, the Melanin Mayhem podcast, hosted by your favorite country girl, Renee Davis. If this is your first time tiptoeing through the tulips, welcome. Spring has sprung, and you will too once you get into some of this mayhem. And if you don't know, we put it down prolific style over here. I'm gonna bring you the stories of some heinous crimes perpetrated by some melanated baddies that you've probably never heard about or never heard the full story on. I'm single handedly busting the myth that there are crimes that black people don't commit. Cause baby, we've been masterminding motherfuckers since the beginning of time. People just don't like to talk about it. But we do over here every week on Wednesday. And to my peoples, the fabulous Noir Nation. Hey, where them fans at? You know what I told you? Spring has sprung, honey, and the rooftops about to be litty in the city, baby. What y'all doing? I don't know about you, but I want my hour back. Shit hit different this year. Ooh, honey, but I'm so glad that y'all are here with me, cause we can make it through anything together. As you can hear, my voice is still shot to shit. Blame it on the allergies. I'm coming to terms with the fact that I'm gonna probably be sounding like a Muppet until I don't know, around Mayish or something. Cause we ain't even scratched the surface of pollen season yet. Honey, y'all send me some of them good old home remedies to help me get my mojo back. Cause at this point, I'll try anything to be able to breathe and not wheeze. Ooh, honey. The struggle is real. But it don't matter, because we got shit to talk about today. Noir Nation. What y'all think about hereditary traits? I mean, do you think that it's possible to have a murder gene in the family tree? Like, I know that we are all capable of violence, you know what I'm saying? Shit happens. But that's not what I'm talking about. I mean an actual, factual, drill trait. I gotta say, for myself, I really didn't give it too much thought before this particular episode. And if I was pressed on it, I would probably say no. You don't pass down a killer gene. You pass down dimples or big noses or, high blood pressure, some shit like that. Not the propensity for killing a bitch. And normally, when I talk about our mayhem makers, when I speak on their family, it's usually just they're normal, everyday, regular kind of people, right? Now, they may cover up for or turn a blind eye to some of the red flags of their peoples, but the mayhem maker is usually the only killer in the bloodline. And I would say that averages out, right? If there has to be a killer in the family, I mean, let's keep it at just one. Well, old folks used to say, if you live long enough, you'll be done seen some of anything and everything. And after researching this week's subject, god damn it if them ain't facts on facts on facts. Cause I ain't never, I mean never, ever, ever seen a family of stone cold killers. Like everybody got bodies. Man, I rolled up on this family here. Baby, them was some killing motherfuckers. Mama and damn near all her children was about that life, honey. So while we do have a main character, if you will, in order to give you the full picture of the fuckery we dealing with this week, I had to give you the killer resume of our mayhem makers family because I believe that has bearing on the man that this motherfucker would turn into. And I kept trying to focus on just him. I promise y'all, I just tried to keep it in the middle of the road. But baby, this story is so much more audacious and goddamn nasty. When I put all of the components together, it's like a big old pot of murder gumbo. Baby, I really tried, but to tell this story completely, I have to give you his origin story because it's so intertwined with these family dynamics that I would just be slacking on my pimping. And I take my duties as storyteller extraordinaire very seriously. And I'm sensitive about my shit, so watch yourself. So this week, our mayhem maker is a family of killers and assaulters, a whole motherfucking bloodline of dysfunctional, violent sociopaths. And I know I say it every week, but y'all ain't gonna believe this shit. But you know I got the receipts. Let's go and bring these motherfuckers to the front of the congregation. This week's Melanin Mayhem makers are the Blair family, featuring Terry Anthony Blair as our So let's go ahead and get into this shit. Now, Terry Anthony Blair was born September 16th, 1961. Dang, he was born the day after me. I mean, as far as date, definitely not the year, but a Virgo. How did he get caught? We usually don't get caught. Anyway, he was the fourth of 10 children born to Janice Billy Blair. Now, Janice was crazy. It wasn't no way around that, honey. I can't dress it up no kind of way. That bitch was certifiable. I don't know if something made her that way or if it was homegrown, born this way kind of thing. But either way, they lived a hard life and chaos was the norm. You never knew what was gonna pop off, but understand that on the regular, the popping off of it all was a certainty. Janice carried a 38 and would pull that motherfucker on anybody, including the children. She done shot at many a motherfuckers and eventually caught a body. It all went down for Janice in 1978. When Terry was around 17 years old, a high school dropout, he's sitting on the porch of one of his neighbors just chilling, and he hear a commotion coming from his house. That ain't nothing new. But then he heard pop, pop, pop. Uh-oh, somebody letting loose in this bitch. Well, he make his way to the house to see what had happened was his mama's common-law husband, dude named Elton Gray, laid out on the floor bleeding out. Janice done shot the shit out of him. Tragic, right? No, what's tragic is that there were 6 children sitting in the living room watching TV that didn't bat an eyelash that there was a motherfucker with a bullet in his ass bleeding out on the floor right now. They say they just sat there and continued to watch TV through all of this shit that's going on. Lord be offense, Jesus. Well, somebody did call the ambulance, but it was too late for old Elton. He was communing with the Lord, honey. And the cops asked, who shot Elton? And they told him, Janice. And they said, well, where the fuck is Janice? She around the corner somewhere. Okay, police, they go looking for Janice. Janice is around the corner, indeed, on Prospect Avenue, walking around with her pistol in her hand, talking cash shit. Janice ain't gave a fat rat's ass by Elton. Far as she was concerned, that nigga got what he deserved. Ooh, that's cold-blooded, mama. She pled guilty and everything to the charges against her. But see, I told y'all Janice was crazy. I'm talking about paperwork in check crazy. Can't do nothing with that. So they gave her 5 years probation and then told her go get some goddamn help. What? But you gotta understand, in the 70s, it was a different time. Niggas could kill each other and get very little time for their crime. Maybe one day I'll tell y'all the story about how my granddaddy shot his first wife over a spades game. A tragic tale indeed. Anywho, I'm giving y'all some audacious background because I think it's important to this case to see what kind of environment the Blairs had going on. Them motherfuckers was violent and deadly, and shit could and did pop off with fatal consequences when you was fucking around with them. And let me tell you something, Mama Janice was not the only Blair out here on that red rum time. Terry had an older brother named Walter Blair Jr. Walter jumped into the family business and killed some motherfuckers too. Check this out. In January of 1979, when Walter was 18 years old, this like some 6 months after his mama killed that nigga in the living room, he gets popped for murdering this 16-year-old boy named Sandy Shannon. He done took a shotgun to the back of Sandy's head. Ooh, Lord. Now, he locked up. He waiting on his trial, right? While he's locked up, he chopping it up or whatever they do in jail to pass the time. In some kind of way, he gets to talking with this dude that's locked down for a rape charge. And he trying to make sure that the victim that he raped don't make it to trial. and he got 6 bands for whoever want that work. So, Walter in this bitch trying to play big dog, right? He already in here for murder, right? So he like, shit, if I was out, I'd do it. If they look a nigga out, man, I got you, dog. In July, they had to let Walter go. They didn't have enough evidence, and nobody was willing to testify against Walter for the killation of the young man, Sandy. So Walter is free. Like, free. Well, old Rapey McRaper was like, hey, man, you still gonna handle that little business that we talked about? And Walter was like, hey, say less. Now, you would think that maybe this was some old jailhouse talk, you know what I'm saying? This nigga just skated on a murder charge. Ain't no way he finna get out here and just go out here and do some more bullshit, right? He finna go sit that ass down, be still, and keep a low profile. That's the smart thing to do. Well, Walter's punk ass is not smart. The next motherfucking month, August of 1979, this motherfucker is arrested again. This time for the murder for hire of 21-year-old college student Catherine Jo Allen. He killed her on August 19th, 1979. Catherine was the victim of rape that the rapist in jail told Walter he wanted deaded. And Walter did the shit. He told the police that he beat that woman with a brick first. A motherfucking brick. And then he shot the shit out of her. Now, Walter's good confessing ass tell them, she was begging for her life. Now, mind you, Walter ain't but 18 when all this gunplay is going down. Maybe Young and Dumb played a part of this foolishness and fuckery, but my God, the depravity of it all. You killed this woman for no reason at all. She ain't did nothing to you or your people. So now you a contract killer? Oh, you real hard now, huh? No, what you is stupid. Cause you, nigga, if you gonna do the crime, you don't tell them the intricate details like that. That's how you get fucked up, because that's inflammatory as a motherfucker. She was begging you not to kill her after you beat her with a brick? Oh, really? Okay, we're gonna make your ass beg now. They didn't play with that ass either. He caught a whole death sentence for his shenanigans in January of 1981, and the state turned that water off in 1993. Believe it. Okay, now, so mama is a killer, son is a killer, and we still ain't got to the mayhem maker? Nope. But wait, there's more bad apples in this fucked up family tree. Now, at the same time, Terry has a sister named Warnetta Blair. She 25 years old and she got a husband, nigga named Noila White. About a year after her brother Walter got that time, she decided that it was time for her to get into the family bullshit. So see, her and her husband, they caught a charge as a couple. They stabbed a man named James Bell 30 motherfucking times on September 27th of 1980. Like, is this the family that kills together, stays together on cell block M? I mean, I don't think so, because Warnetta, she did the crime, but she was not down to do the time. Baby, Warnetta agreed to testify against her husband for the prosecution. Well, Warnetta, there's only one little wrinkle in that. Spousal privilege. You can't testify against your spouse about what the fuck y'all did and do and what you know. Well, Warnetta wasn't gonna let a piece of paper keep her from skating on a murder charge. Her punk ass filed for divorce, but then she came up pregnant. Who the fuck she was pregnant by? Like, was they doing conjugal visits? I have so many questions, but either way, Warnetta is out. Noila is in. Some kind of way she did some of that hellacious pimp talk on his ass, and the next thing you know, in 1984, Noila ends up pleading guilty to second-degree murder, and he said he did it all by himself. Warnetta done skated on a murder charge. Well, maybe she'll sit the fuck down somewhere now, huh? She just skated on a murder charge. Nope. While Noila was rotting in jail, Warnetta was getting her whole life, baby. She done got her a new boo and everything. Everything out here now seems copacetic. She got her new boo. He a drug dealer from Cuba named Pablo Gomez. Well, tell me why. Pablo Gomez was found dead as a motherfucker in their apartment in December of 1999. See, what had happened was Warnetta had done cooked up a plan to rob her old man Pablo, but the shit went left. They put a gag on him over his face and his nose, and Pablo done fucked around and suffocated. She didn't mean to kill him, but she killed him. Whoops. She get a 10-year bid for this little oopsie daisy. Okay, so the mama, the son, the daughter is some killing motherfuckers. And we still ain't got to the meat of this thing, now? Nope. I'm still not done. Keeping in the bloodline, Juanetta got 3 boys, and all 3 of them niggas got inmate numbers early on in life. Starting with Diamond, he started his criminalistic endeavors at the tender age of 6 with juvenile sticky fingers that progressed to strong arm robbery, and then he graduated to sex crimes. Then he caught a murder charge when the man he was robbing ended up dead. Ugh. Then there was William, second child of Juanetta. William is a late bloomer, I guess, because he didn't catch his first charge until he was 16. He stepped off the bus into some robbery shit, and they gave him a slap on the wrist and told him don't do this shit no more. So what he do? This nigga and his crew go on a robbing spree. 88 counts of robbery, assault, and armed criminal actions, meaning he had that thing with him. I'm talking about a robbing spree of every business he came across. Bars, convenience stores, liquor stores. This nigga even robbed a goddamn karate studio. Sir, I can't with you. And then the last boy of Juanetta, Noila Jr. Now, Noila, he told his brothers, y'all niggas is small time. Let me show you how to fuck 'em up. This little nigga killed his daddy, Noila Sr. Yes, in 2001. That Noila, the one that killed a nigga with his wife and did that bid solo, just got murked by his namesake. Ooh, shit, that's cold-blooded right now. Kill your daddy? Well, apparently Noila Sr., he did his time, and he got out and attempted to do something with his life, right? Noila, the daddy, Sr., he had a furniture store on Troost Avenue down from Prospect Avenue. And Noila, the son, Jr., he went up in that bitch and put a hole in his daddy's third eye. No more thoughts for you, daddy. Like, god damn, this is a legit family of killers. Throw the whole bloodline away. Noila, the son, ended up getting 30 years for killing his daddy. God. Okay, now, that was the sister and the nephews and the brother and the mama. Terry got any more brothers out here criming it up? Well, he got one. There was a brother named Clifford Miller. He was convicted of the 1994 kidnapping and shooting of a woman outside of a bar on Prospect Avenue. I'm telling you, I'm still not done. Let me tell you what Clifford did. He grabbed this woman, threw her in his car, drove her to where his grandmama lived, made this woman give his punk ass some sloppy toppy before using a gun to beat her to sleep. I mean, legit, he monkey stomped this woman to sleep. When she woke up, she left his grandmama's house, walked across the street to a neighbor, asked for some help. They get her to the hospital. She make a police report and everything. But Clifford get away. Well, now I'm telling you, this woman was fucked up. I'm talking broken jaw, missing teeth. She had a broke arm, her coochie and her booty leaking. I mean, that's a lot. And it was a long road to recovery. I mean, her bruises healed, but the trauma of it all, it took her a little minute to kind of get to where she felt somewhat normal. And after about 11 months, she decides that, you know what, I'm taking control of my life. I'm going to the bar. Okay, girl, I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, she gets to the bar and run right smack dab into Clifford. And do you know this good raping, beating ass, audacious ass nigga walked right up to this woman and said something like, long time no see, friend. What? Oh, girl was shooketh. Of course. I mean, she was triggered like a motherfucker. But baby, she had a road dog up in there with her who understood the situation and understood the assignment. She called the police for her friend, and they came right on up there and took Clifford's ass away. And they charged him with her assault from the 11 months prior. Clifford was convicted of sodomy, assault, kidnapping, and strong arm robbery. They gave his monkey ass 240 years. Serve your punk ass right. Good for you. And I still ain't done. Now, Terry got another brother. His name was Daniel. Now, Daniel didn't kill nobody, but he caught a bid anyway for possession with intent to distribute cocaine. I almost want to chill for this nigga, because he about the only one in the family that ain't killed nobody. I mean, when we rooting for the drug dealer, sheesh. I still ain't done, because we still got a story to tell. Now, in all of this killation, you might be confused as to where the fuck our mayhem maker comes in, because it seems like if this a family affair, we ain't heard from this nigga Terry yet. When his bullshit started, Nate? Well, let me tell you. In May of 1982, This nigga Terry decides that it would be a good idea to off his baby mama. He got 2 children by this girl named Angela Monroe, and he took her ass completely off the board, turned her water off. Now, when this all went down, Terry Blair is like 20 years old. Angela's got 2 kids by him, and she is 7 months pregnant with baby number 3. According to Terry, Angela was out there selling that thing and he didn't want her to, but Angela did it anyway. So Terry crashed out on her. He beat the brakes off her ass with a tree limb and left her body in some bushes. The mother of his children that was pregnant. You just did it. You don't give a fuck about your children, huh? And after this nigga walks away scot-free, I'm talking scot-free from this murderation, this nigga do the most ignorant fuckery a criminal can do. He calls 911 on May 15th, 1982 to tell them he seen a body at the corner of Linwood Boulevard and Forest Avenue. So, 911 send the police. They look around and they do indeed find a body that's been there for a couple of days. They do some investigating. They trace the 911 call back to Terry, and then they have a little chat with him because, sir, that's not just a body. That's your baby mama that you just stumbled across, and you didn't mention that at all. Do you happen to know how Angela ended up like that? Terry was like, I don't know. Anybody could have killed her because she was out there selling that hot box with my baby in her belly. And the cops was like, you sound a little pressed about that. And so they keep him talking. And you keep a motherfucker talking long enough, they're going to sometimes tell on themselves. When Terry told the cops everything, he said that he was mad because Angela was out here auctioning off that monkey. He didn't particularly care for prostitution as a way of commerce, and Angela was not appreciating how he felt about the situation. So he handled it. End of discussion. But then you called the police to report a body that nobody was looking for or had found? Like, why? Whatever. They charged and convicted that ass. They gave Terry 24 years behind bars in November of 1982. So he's off to do the prison circuit, right? They bounced his ass around from prison to prison because he was a fucking troublemaker. Always in some shit. This nigga racked up violation on violation on violation. Like 700 pages worth of violations. Fighting, assault, disobeying orders, possession of contraband. Just being out of pocket. The nigga was a menace, and they let that menace back on the street May 16th of 2002 after he had served 20 years. Now, they kinda let him loose. You see, they didn't actually let him loose, like open up the doors and see you later, bye. They took him from prison to a conditional release facility. It's kind of like diet prison. Right? Its sole purpose is to help the convicts readjust to being in society. And Terry's punk ass half-assed that conditional release facility in Kansas City, still not wanting to follow no kind of rules. But what can they do? This nigga has served just about his entire sentence. No matter what he does, he only has 4 years left on paper. So now he can play in your face for the next 4 years. And did. Now Terry know they gonna drug test him. So what he do? Go get high as giraffe pussy and test positive. And so what they do? Sent that ass back to prison August 8th, 2002 for violating. Just can't get right. Just can't get right. They keep Terry in prison for like a year and some change. And then on January 24th, 2004, they actually sent him to the halfway house in Kansas City because, his sentence is just about up. Well, coincidentally, around the time this nigga gets out, women started turning up dead on the Prospect area corridor. Now, what's crazy is that Kansas City had just handled a serial killer that used Prospect Avenue as his hunting and dumping ground. Y'all might remember I did an episode on him. It was the Lorenzo Gilliard episode, The Kansas City Strangler. This nigga had been killing them softly since the 80s, and it took them till 2004 to snatch that ass up. And as soon as they got him gathered together, damn if the killing didn't start again. They knew it wasn't Gilliard because he was in custody. So who was this new killer on the block? And whoever it was, they had the same MO for all the killations. Rape, strangle, and dump. In that order. And I don't know, but the women that like to smoke a little bit and sell a little cat, they just weren't safe in Kansas City if they hung out by and around Prospect Avenue. Like ask Anna Ewing. Well, I guess you can't because she deader than a motherfucker. But you see, Anna, had just got out of prison. I'm talking fresh out the joint. Anna was the mother of 6 children and legit had 10 days on the streets before she was dead. July 14th, 2004, Anna Ewing was found at 23rd Street and Prospect Avenue. Well, for a while it was just quiet. That might have just been a one-off, right? Until September 2nd, 2004, police find the bodies of 2 women in a garage near 26th Street and Montgal Avenue. Now, let me give you just a bit of a verbal visual, if you will. Picture it. It's an alley, like a garage spot. It's abandoned, but it's full of shit like broke down car carcasses and rusted car parts and just trash and just everywhere. And it's abandoned and it's a junkie's playground, right? It's somewhere they can go and be secluded or whatever because it's got a door that'll go up and down. Inside of this broke down abandoned garage, they find 53-year-old Patricia Wilson Butler and 38-year-old Sheila McKenzie. They just in there tossed like trash. Like literally how somebody might throw something out the window and not give it a second thought. But peep this shit. The bodies were found on top of each other. It looked like someone literally threw one in and then came back later and threw another one in, right on top of where the other one was. The bottom body, Patricia, she had been there for a minute. Like, she was really decomposed, been gone to glory. So much so that they had to do some fancy footwork to figure out who she was. I'll just say it involved rehydrating them mummified remains. The body on top, Sheila McKenzie, she was much fresher in terms of when she was sent to see the king, but she was still dead and she had been dead for a while. While they couldn't tell exactly how Patricia died, everybody knew it wasn't natural causes. Sheila, on the other hand, they could still work with the situation and they determined that her neck had been broken. Both women appeared to have been sexually assaulted. Both were known to be purveyors of pussy and connoisseurs of crack on the block, which ain't no reason to take them out the game like that, because that's just goddamn audacious. Like, understand he killed Patricia first, and then sometime later killed Sheila in the exact same spot and just threw her body in there where he threw Patricia's. Clearly, this is like murder B&B because the same location was used by that nigga Lorenzo Gilliard when he was killing the women on Prospect. Oh, my Lord. Now, in and of itself, it's unusual to find 2 bodies at the same damn time. But then some real out-of-pocket shit happened. The next motherfucking day, September 3rd, 2004, 911 operators, they at work doing what they do, answering calls for assistance. And they got some strange calls. The person on the other end didn't want help per se. He wanted to talk or maybe confess. A man called in several times to 911 to say that he was the one that was responsible for the bodies that they had found. So the operator, they kept that motherfucker on the line and they was asking him all kind of questions just to keep him talking, right? And talk that motherfucker did. This motherfucker with verbal diarrhea eventually told them that there were more bodies out there that nobody knew about. And he was responsible for sending them all to the upper room. He gives the 911 operator the location to another body. And the next thing you know, later on that day when the police go out there to investigate this shit, 40-year-old Carmen Hunt is found just 4 blocks from where Patricia and Sheila were found yesterday. Found exactly where the mayhem maker told them to go look. Now, please understand, nobody would have or could have found Carmen. She been gone so long that the environment has grown around her, like covered her up, encompassed her into the earth. I'm talking grass and kudzu and trash and just nature. They had to hack Carmen out of her natural burial site, which, let me tell you, was sitting in front of some houses. But clearly, Prospect Avenue is a mind your business that pays you type of place, because ain't nobody seen shit, ain't nobody heard shit, and ain't nobody smelled shit. Carmen been missing since June. He turned her water off in June. In the heat of June, Carmen's ass would have been ripe. And I'm talking, woo, what's that smell kind of ripe in June and July? And you mean nobody smelled that death? Mind Your Business was definitely all of the peoples that lived by 29th and Park Avenue. Noir Nation. This motherfucker called in his own confession. Like, let me help y'all out. What? Who the fuck does that? Like, is this a cry for attention? Did you not get enough hugs as a child? I ain't promoting committing murder. Please believe that. But if you gonna do the murder and the police's job for them, maybe your time would be better served not murdering, because you ain't supposed to snitch on yourself. You legit got away. Nobody knows who you are or that there is even a you. Till you called 911 from a cell phone. To what? Taunt the police? That's not how this usually works. You put yourself on the radar. And now they looking for you. They listening to your recorded call to 911, and they ain't gonna stop till they put a pair of bracelets on that ass. You see, this nigga, he likes the attention now. His crimes are on the news every day, all day. A&E even got a camera crew out there. This motherfucker made the first 48. They didn't solve it in the first 48. That's a spoiler. You want to be an old star-ass nigga, or by any deranged means necessary kind of nigga, because you been a killing machine. These killations are not fresh. I mean, even though they call Sheila fresh, that's in comparison to Patricia's mummified remains. You know what I'm saying? But she been communing with the Lord for a little minute too. That's not the point. The point is he had been killing and hadn't felt the need to unburden himself to anybody. Now all of a sudden, that one crime that came to light, and he want to take KCPD on a tour of his greatest hits. It's because he likes the limelight. Damn if Crying John ain't still calling in to 911 to get shit off his chest. He called back the next day on the 4th to continue the conversation and give direction on where to find some more bodies. And the 911 operator, a sister, she just questioning this nigga like she Oprah, and she interviewing this audacious motherfucker. Well, where are they? Why did you do it? Are they hid? How many more are there? Oh, you don't like prostitutes. Why? Ma'am, let me find out you want to be on Criminal Minds. But she did her job and kept his ass talking. She even asked him what his name was. And this diabolical motherfucker said, I'll tell you tomorrow when I call back. What? If you don't get your ass off this goddamn phone and act like you don't want to be caught? Like, sir, I don't know who taught you how to crime, but you clearly missed some final points in how to do criminality the right way. Well, the next thing you know, later that day, September 4th, looking where he tells them to look, they find 25-year-old Darcy Williams near 24th Street and Prospect Avenue, right where the killer said she would be. She was young, she had a love-hate relationship with that dope, but she had also been dead for so long that she was only bones when they found her. But Darcy wasn't the only body found that day. 20 feet away, they found another body that was unfresh. But how about this? Somebody been there recently because it was some fresh McDonald's trash right by the body. Looked like a motherfucker had came by and had lunch with an old flame. Ooh, Lord have mercy. Again, the smell. And this motherfucker, some motherfucker, sitting around eating Big Macs and shit, they would have to work to find out who these victims were. Because again, these are not fresh bodies. They are, in a lot of cases, just the bones. They knew that this unidentified woman, the last one that they found, was like between 39 and 50 years old, and they found her at 2745 Olive Street. It would take some time, but they did identify this woman as 31-year-old Claudette Juniel. And again, by doing some chemical trickery of rehydrating her mummified hands, they were able to get prints. Ooh, child, thank goodness for technology. But the mental picture I got of a rehydrated, dehydrated hand, I'm gonna need a moment. Well, in the meantime, in between time, the cops did what they do when a motherfucker playing in their face. They formed a task force to get their man. Now, they still listening to the recordings of all these calls that they got, and they picking up on clues because these 911 dispatchers are asking the right questions to get this nigga to say shit to give clues to his identity. They go and post up at the 911 office, right? They waiting on the 6 o'clock news to drop because he always call after the news go off. This day, he didn't. This motherfucker finally decided to shut the fuck up because it's free. Well, the cops don't like this shit. They was ready to wrap this thing up, but somehow they did. They knew that the killer was calling 911 from a cell phone. They had like 8 to 9 minutes of him talking on the recorded line. They go and they make calls literally. They are riding around the city to see which area they need to be in for the calls to bounce off the cell tower that his came through. They literally mapped out an area that could only be where the killer was, and it's about 10 blocks. Okay, that's doable. Baby, they beat them motherfucking streets. And you gotta be like, golly, the girls was still out here on the stroll. Even though somebody was out here deading them up, something serious. I found myself pleasantly surprised that the KCPD were out there trying to locate missing sex workers, trying to make sure that they was okay. Like normally, that don't happen. They was telling them, y'all be easy, keep your head on a swivel. Let me know if you see anything suspicious or if anybody come up missing. They acted like they cared, and I don't usually get that sense when I'm discussing the police action when the victims are black women that like to smoke and stroll the set. Y'all know I tear their ass up when they fucking up and be missing patterns. But KCPD, they were uber attuned to the fact that there was a serial killer in their community and he was fucking them black women up. And they wanted to do something about it. So shout out to you, KCPD. This is moving in lightning fast time, right? KCPD is not playing. It's a whole lot of shit going on at the same time. They are figuring out who these victims are because remember, a lot of the times this was just bones. So it wasn't like they could know that day who they were dealing with, right? But they were processing these bodies and they were finding out their identity and getting all the forensics that they needed from the remains. They were out on the streets talking to the rape victims who had submitted police reports that had been victimized on the Prospect area corridor. And while they're doing this, they're finding some similarities among the survivors. Like one lady said that he didn't kill her because he told her she wasn't a prostitute like the others. He still raped her and choked her out, but he did let her live. They go back to the recordings that they have and they taking notes of all of the sounds in the background, like it's a train in the background. They got to go see where that train track at. They can hear birds chirping. They want to find somebody who can identify these birds and where they hang out at. KCPD is pulling out all the stops. They talked to another woman that had just recently been assaulted on Prospect, and she gave them a gold mine worth of information, right? She said the nigga y'all looking for is real nice. He talked to you real good. He make you think you ain't got nothing to worry about. And he was real tall. And then they asked her, have you seen him since? And she was like, yeah, I've seen that nigga around. Another girl tell them that it's a man, a tall black man that seemed real nice, but then he started talking to the working girls on the stroll about how he gonna kill them one by one. And his name is Terry. Terry, you say? Yeah, they say Terry fucked his girl up a long time ago. Well, the police go back and they put all this information in the system and let the computer do what the computer does, and it came back with Terry Blair, the nigga that's been wanted on a parole violation since February. And guess what? This nigga got a habit of calling the police and telling on himself. Terry Blair becomes suspect number 1. They went back to the chick that got assaulted, gave her a photo lineup, and she picked his picture. Okay, let's go find Terry. Mind you, Terry been on the run for like 6 months at this point, right? And it don't matter what the police want. They out here beating these streets, looking for Terry everywhere. But you can't find a nigga that don't want to be found. That wasn't gonna stop KCPD. On September 9th, 2004, they put Terry's business on Front Street and blasted his pictures out on some Crime Stoppers type of situation type of thing. And you know where there's a bounty put out on the streets? The streets gonna do what the streets do, honey. Baby, that next day, September 10th, the dimes was dropping. Everybody was calling trying to get that little money for turning in Terry's ass. But how they found him was crazy. Tell me why. Terry at a little shawty house chilling. They watching TV. Damn if his face don't pop up on the screen. Old girl act like she ain't even see it. Terry trying to peep her out and then he just get up and leave. Now she's scared than a motherfucker and she called police because she think the nigga still staying around her house waiting to catch her slipping. The police come, they search around her house and they find Terry's ass hiding. He was gonna kill that lady. Ain't nothing you could say to make me believe no different. He was waiting on her to go to sleep and he was gonna turn her water off. Well, the police arrested him at her house on Virginia Avenue in Kansas City. When they get him in custody, they ask him about the death of Sheila McKenzie. Terry denied her like Peter did Jesus. Who? Sheila? Who is that? I ain't never known a girl named Sheila. You got the wrong dude. So, you're not the man that's been calling 911? Nah, bro, that ain't me. Shit, that nigga sound just like your ass. Terry was a tough nut to crack. But they kept at it, and they kept his ass talking. You see, that's how you gotta get them chatty Cathy's. You can get all up in their shit. You gonna say something that's gonna give a clue. And Terry did. They brought up that cell phone, and he was like, man, I gave that phone to my sister. So what they do? They go to his sister's house. And when they get there, all of the environmental noise at the sister's house is everything you would hear on the 911 recordings. Baby, they pressed Terry a little bit more, and Terry was like, I'll take a lawyer for $200, Alex. They kept his ass locked up on that parole violation while they did some more police work to build their case. So after they questioned him about Sheila, on September 13th, 2004, they got the test results back from the semen that was found in and on Sheila. Come to find out, that baby batter belongs to Terry Blair punk ass. We got your ass now, nigga. And they wasted no time charging him with one count of first-degree murder on September 14th, 2004 for Sheila McKenzie's murder. Now, they gave this nigga a bond for $500,000. We know his ass gonna be sitting in jail until trial. But why or how even get a bond? Because this nigga is a fugitive on a parole violation. Y'all was just capping. Whatever. On December 3rd, 2004, they hit Terry's ass with 7 additional counts of murder to go along with Sheila's. Then they added 2 more women that we hadn't talked about, 33-year-old Nelia Harris and 47-year-old Sandra Reed. This time, they didn't even bother about talking about a bond. Who the fuck and what the fuck? This nigga ain't going nowhere. And besides, this nigga's on parole. Ain't no bond when you violated before the criminalisticing happened. On December 13th, 2004, Terry pled not guilty to 8 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of forcible rape. And on May 24th, 2005, the Jackson County prosecutor, a man named Michael Sanders, he filed paperwork to seek the death penalty against Terry. And according to the paperwork, the death penalty was the way to go since Terry was already a convicted felon for killing his baby mama back in the day. And these new killations were outrageously or wantonly vile, horrible, or inhumane. Just what we need to put your ass to sleep. Now again, they originally hit Terry with 8 counts of murder, and they were campaigning for the death penalty. But in February of 2008, the wheeling and dealing started. And in the end, they dropped 2 of the counts, the one for Nelia Harris and Sandra Reed, and they got Terry and his defense team to agree to a bench trial in exchange for dropping the death penalty. So Terry went with the deal, and Judge John O'Malley was who he had to plead his case to. They did the same shit with Lorenzo Gilliard when he was getting ready to go to trial. I have to look into that. What's the difference between, or what's the correlation between getting a plea for a bench trial versus a jury trial? We're going to have to look into that, Noir Nation. Terry Anthony Blair's bench trial started March of 2008. The prosecution painted Terry as a sociopath that had a deep hatred for women and sold coochie. He was cold, calculating, and determined to take out as many streetwalkers as he could. Terry's defense lawyers was like, nope, you got it all wrong. They can't prove my client made them 911 calls. And who said he didn't like a good old prostitute? His sperm being on Sheila just goes to show that he liked cat-selling ladies. All this shows is that he had sex, not that he killed her. And that was their case. Well, Judge John O'Malley, on March 28, 2008, found that as guilty as charged for all 6 counts of first-degree murder. They say Terry didn't have much of a reaction. He just closed his eyes and let that shit sink in. But meanwhile, in the gallery, the families of the victims, they was high-fiving and hooping and hollering up in that motherfucker. Thank you, Jesus! Thank you, Jesus! Your ass is gone! Fuck you, punk ass nigga! And the judge just let it ride. At the sentencing on April 24th, 2008, Judge O'Malley gave Terry's ass 6 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. And just as he was getting ready to be like, and period, right? He told Terry, "You are not clever or brave or powerful. You are simply a middle-aged man destined to die in a prison cell." Ooh, the tea of it all, baby. Clock that. Clock, clock, clock. And that essentially is what happened. Terry got to spend the next 16 years getting 3 hots in a cot from the state of Missouri, and he eventually busted hell wide open on May 11th, 2024, just last year. I am hoping nothing but flames and razor blades and lemon juice for the rest of your eternal life. And that, Noir Nation, was the story of Terry Anthony Blair and the Blair killing ass family. That was a mess, wasn't it? I told y'all. All I can say is thank goodness this nigga had a calling problem. Because if he hadn't, who knows how much longer he would have been out here killing. He was a Virgo. I ain't campaigning for murder, but I'm just saying my sign, we are perfectionists. And this nigga had that shit perfected. He was an accomplished killer. Those bodies had been dead for a long time, and nobody was checking for Terry. He put the Scott in free. This nigga snitched on his own self. He put his own self on the map. Thank Clovis for a chatty Cathy killing ass nigga. What say y'all about them killers in the bloodline? I don't know, but KC, my people in Kansas City, because you know we everywhere. Y'all might want to check the backgrounds for a Blair connection while you out here slipping and sliding in these streets. If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I'm just saying. I think it's some more Blairs out there. A family of 10, I only told y'all about 5, 6, 7, however many. It's still some more out there. Check. Be safe. And just like that, y'all, we did that shit. It's your turn now. I need you to tell all your friends and family, even the people you don't fuck with, about the Melanin Mayhem podcast. Group chat me, y'all. Fam me out to the randoms. Remember, sharing is caring. And before I forget, next week I got something special for y'all, and I think you're gonna kind of love it. I am doing a collaboration with another true crime podcaster, so next week you not only get to kiki with the country girl for our regularly scheduled programming, you also get a bonus episode of me hooking up for a special episode duet with King Arthur of the Not My Brother's Keeper podcast. I can't wait, y'all. It's going to be my first time running it down with that little podcaster. So stay tuned. I'm not exactly sure if it'll drop on Tuesday or Thursday, but I will absolutely update the socials and the discussion group with the details. Speaking of, you can catch me on Insta, YouTube, Facebook at Melanin Mayhem Podcast. On X, it is Melanin Mayhem PC. If you haven't joined the private Facebook discussion group, you should get on that today, right? They hit everything first. Just search Melanin Mayhem Podcast Discussion Group and get your join on. And if you want to say something in private, you can hit me by email at melaninmayhempodcast@gmail.com. This week, I am shouting out a listener and addressing something that came up in one of the reviews. Noir Nation shout out goes to Lulu Can 2, who said, "Ever since I came across the podcast, I can't seem to want to listen to others anymore. Nobody can tell a story quite like you. I be commenting like I be right there with you. I love this and I can't wait to listen to the next episode." Well, thank you, Lulu Can 2, and I love you for the love. It's right back at you, boo. And while I love the way that you love the way I do what I do, please keep supporting all these Black podcasters. We need them streams to keep us streaming. Thank you all for the support. I wanted to also address something from a listener who wrote a review about last week's podcast. All cap, no crime. I want to address it because I think that there is validity to what they wrote. The post said, "Love the podcast. Glad you told his story, but I don't want to hear stories about Black folks being railroaded. I'm sure there is enough content of Melanin Mayhem makers so that we don't have to hear about the envelopians setting us up." First of all, thank you for loving the pod, and I love you right back. And the purpose of this pod is for me to tell y'all about lesser known stories of prolific crimes committed by melanated people. Full stop. Yes. And yes, there are countless stories out there where we have been done wrong by the male nations, and I don't want to spotlight them. Kind of like how I don't watch slave movies anymore. The reason I decided to do the Leonard Christopher story, and I gotta tell you, I wrestled with whether or not to do it because the crimes that are attached to his name are so heinous and he didn't do it. We need to know about that. The more people that know, it's better for our community. Just because Google says Leonard Christopher is a serial killer, he's not. And we need to get that out in the ethos. I feel the same way about Wayne Williams. I think we talked about that too. I wrestled with doing an episode about Wayne Williams because he didn't do anything prolific. The media and the law just positioned the narrative to make the allegations stick to this man like fact, when the fact is he was never charged or convicted of killing Child the First. But history will always remember him as the prolific killer of the Atlanta child murders. I don't know. I just wanted to address this because I read everything y'all put out there for me, whether it's a post on the socials or a review on the various platforms or by email asking me how you can help or offering suggestions for future shows, right? And I felt that in my heart that there were probably others that were wondering why I did Leonard's story too. I combat disinformation in my spare time, y'all. You know that. Everyone's opinions are welcomed over here. This is a safe space, good, bad, or indifferent. Let me tell you something. I'm bound to do a story or say something that's going to rub somebody the wrong way, but it's okay because we fam and we ride regardless. Anyway, I gotta go, y'all. It's time to edit out all this heavy breathing and coughing. Y'all probably gonna get some wheezing this week. I can't help it. Until we talk again next week, Noir Nation. So stay safe, stay vigilant. And remember, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. It's one love, Noir Nation, and your favorite country girl is out of here.